it's Neil Sean here on Your Entertainment News. I'm thrilled today to be joined by one of my all-time favourite funny men, the very funny, the very brilliant Mr. Duncan Novell. Remember though, Duncan,
if you miss it, you miss out.
That's good. If you miss it, you miss out. Join myself and Duncan today on Your Entertainment News. Duncan, lovely to see you. So lovely to see you. I have to say, I'm thrilled you've come in. You are one of my favourite all-time funny men. Every time I need cheering up, I watch you on YouTube.
Yeah, still some clips from years ago.
Well, you haven't changed, don't worry about that. Oh. Now listen, we want to have a lovely chat about your career, your life, whatever. What I want to know is, when did you first start out and when did you think you could be funny and you could make a career? Do you know what I mean? I'm always intrigued that with comedians.
I think probably was down my local pub when I used to go. My father used to take me every Saturday to play darts. I was a good dart player.
All right.
And my father was a painter and decorator. And he used to take me down to the pub for a half a shandy because I was brought up in a little village called Walton on the Wolds.
Oh, yeah.
And near Leicestershire. And I used to look forward to going down there on a Saturday at dinner time and playing a bit of darts with my dad. And he was a funny character, my father was. He got some funny gags.
But was he in show business or just, just a funny man?
No, he was just a funny man. Yeah. He came from the northeast. He was a Geordie, you know.
Oh, right.
And they're all funny up there.
Yeah.
And I think it wore, you know, some of it worn off on me, and I was able to like go further with it. Where I mean, I also had a brother who died sadly. He was 2 years older than me, and he died when he was 21, and he was a great impressionist. And I always thought, you know, it'd be a double act called the Novells.
Yeah.
But
that's a variety name, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know, like the Novells.
Yeah, it's a bit good, that, I think. And but he wouldn't go on stage and do it. He was better impressionist than myself, but he just hadn't got the bottle to go out there and do it. And I did, and I went on stage a few times. The first one I ever did was another pub in the village next to where I was living, and my father took me down there. It was an old boathouse pub right on the what was it?
I know what you
weren't
mean.
a lake,
yeah.
But it weren't as big as this river.
And, bit of a dam.
Yeah. And there was a talent competition, and the first prize was a meal for two on a Saturday night and £30.
Which was a lot of money, probably.
Yeah,
then,
it was
you know
a lot
I mean?
of money then, yeah.
It's a lot of money now.
And I was 16, and yeah, it is still, yeah, you're right there. I'd do a gig tomorrow for that. And I went on stage, well, my dad took me down and my mum, and we sat on this table, and my dad said, go on, you go on. I said, no, I don't want to go into it, Dad. He says, yeah. I said, what do I do? He says, do Bruce Forsyth, do Norman Wisdom, Michael Crawford, and tell a couple of gags, you know. I said, all right, I'll give it a try. Anyway, I went on and I won it. And the guy come over, gave me £30 and gave me Dad 2 tickets for Saturday night, next Saturday night, for a free meal and everything.
Well, that's nice for your mum and dad, though,
yeah.
isn't it? Yeah,
oh, it was great for them.
Yeah.
And in the morning, he knocked on my bedroom door, my dad did. He said, you coming to work? I said, no. I said, I've got my money for the week. You go and earn yours. And because I got that £30, he was only paying me about £30 a week to help him paint and decorate. I thought, I'm not going up any more ladders. Yeah. You know, and I just
that's
carried...
brave, though, isn't it, Duncan?
Yeah.
It's brave, because you don't know at this point, you know. Can I ask you, though, when you got up to do the thing, were you nervous, or was it, you know, was it easier because you knew the area? Do you know what I mean?
I think it was easier because I knew the area, yeah, definitely, and my mum and dad were there.
Now that would put me off, you see. Because my mum and dad being acts, you'd think, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
It didn't me, because, I mean, I'd never heard of hecklers then, you know. I mean,
they're my career now.
I just thought they'd just listen to you, you know, which they did. And I did do well. It was
How
only
did
when
you find, sorry, I was going to ask, how did you find the impressions? Was it just that these people were? I mean, Bruce, obviously, so Bruce is fabulous anyway. But
Yeah.
did you just pick on people that were in vogue at that moment? You know what I mean? Or,
Yeah, I've always tended to go more to the American side of impressions. I mean, I used to watch all the films, the old westerns like the John Waynes and James Stewart's and Kirk Douglas, all the western movies, you know, because they were always on, the black and white movies.
They
And
were,
I'd sit and watch them. My dad say, "What are you watching that for?" I said, "Jimmy Stewart's in it, Dad. I love Jimmy Stewart," you know, and so I'd sit there and I'd go, "Oh," and you know, my dad would say, "How's it going?" I said, "That's all I do now." And I said, "I ain't learnt the rest yet." And I'd just stand on stage and say that, you know, Jimmy Stewart, and I go, "Oh, now just hang on," and I say, "I don't know the rest," and I'd get a laugh, and then I'd put in Kirk Douglas, Burt Lancaster, John Wayne. Then it led on to people like Sylvester Stallone, Jack Nicholson, and people like that.
Wow.
And
It's a good repertoire, though, to be able to pick up.
James Mason, Richard Burton. I mean, and one led to another, and I got to about 100 impressions quite quick. And it gave me another string to my bow with the comedy and the impressions. I mean, because my act was a little bit camp for that time of...
I want to ask you that. How did you... So you won this 30 quid.
Yeah.
Which is... We've worked out you're now rich, right?
Yeah.
So you're thinking, oh, well...
Oh, that did it for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think what did I get? I think... do you remember Uncle Peter Webster on Blackpool Central Pier?
Yeah.
I think... I'm not sure.
You didn't pay much.
No, well, no, he never paid much when he made it, did he? So, you know. But I think he did... I think it was got like a toy and some sweets, you know, something like that.
Yeah,
and I was always
it starts.
you think this is not bad.
Yeah.
But I always was nervous of talent shows because you know that feeling that because when you're young you don't realise that there's professionals in them. You know, you think they're like you, don't you? Like you're having a go, and you think, oh, it's all right. But there's actually professionals, and half the time you've no chance because they've marked it out. You know, I always think that's what makes me laugh with X Factor and Britain's Got Talent. If anybody goes into a talent show and they think, I'm talented, it doesn't matter. It's marked out. You are going to be, you know, where you are. But what did you do after that when you thought, I've got my 30 quid? How did you get bookings and get going then?
Well, I then decided, right, I'm going to try this for real. Because when I left working, when I finished working for my father, I went to Foster Menswear.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
It used to be a company called Foster Menswear. And
exclusive it was.
Yeah, it was very exclusive. Yeah.
You were rich if you went in there.
Yeah, you were rich. I mean, £30 they'd buy you the shop.
Yeah.
And so I went to work for those for a couple of years. And during that time, I developed a bit of an act together. I got 30 minutes together, really, of impressions of bits and bobs. And I wasn't singing or anything then. That all came later. So I'd got this 30-minute act where I know I could go on stage and be funny for 30 minutes. And there used to be a magazine then, Neil, called The Stage.
Oh, yeah.
Stage and Television Today.
It's not like it is today.
No. And I looked in the back of it, and there was an advert. Comedian wanted to join professional agent in Sunderland. Now, bearing in mind that my father came from the northeast, Newcastle, I knew all about Sunderland and where it was and everything. And I thought, well, I'll go and see this guy. The guy was called Bob Depledge. He was my first manager, and he looked after people like the Crankies.
Oh, yeah.
Dustin G, bless him.
Yeah.
He was fabulous.
So big names of the time.
Yeah, great names of the time. A guy called Solomon King.
Oh, yeah,
Rings a bell, yeah. She Wears My Ring.
Yeah.
That song.
I mean, again, big hit, you know, big names. Not necessarily on TV at that point, but in clubs, in theatres, you know, summer seasons.
Yeah, I mean, they were a big established agency. And my friend took me up in his Hillman Inn. First time I'd been out of the village. And we had to go on the A1 motorway. God, strafing a Hillman Inn. 154 miles. We managed to get there, and I went into his office, and he asked me what I did, and I told him I do impressions and just tell gags, really. And he said, "Oh, can you show me some impressions?" I said, "Okay." So I reeled off a party piece where I used to do it in my act, where I did 50 impressions in 5 minutes.
That's a good idea.
I started with the Muppets, and I finished off with Top Cat, and I did it. And when I finished, I looked at him, and he kind of went, and I said, "Was that all right?" He said, "I'm just going to ring my wife. She's at the flying club, and ask her to come back, and could you do it again?" I said, "Yeah, many times as you want." Anyway, she come back.
When you're young, you're just amazing when you
Yeah.
say, like, yeah, if you want.
Yeah, and I said, "Okay." And anyway, she come back from the club, and her name was Thee. And he said, "Watch this, Thee. Just show what you show me." So I did the impressions, and then he said, I'd like to manage you, Duncan." I said, "Oh, okay." He said, "I'll use you up here, 1 or 2 clubs, and we'll see how you get on." I said, "Yeah, okay." So I went away, and I thought, I won't hear no more. We managed it. We broke down going back on the A1, so my dad had to come out and try and put the car right.
The glamour of showbiz,
Yeah,
eh?
I ended up coming back on the AA truck for the last 50 miles. And my mate said to me, "You know, when you make it big, will you buy me a car?" I said, "Yeah." I had to promise him anything, because he, bless him, he took me all the way up there.
Yeah.
And on the way back, he broke down. And I did hear from him. He got in touch, and he said, "Can you do 2 30 minutes?" I said, "Oh, no." I said, "I've only got 1 spot." He said, "Well, if you can learn another one, I can get you plenty of work up here around Sunderland, Newcastle." And I know that they were hard audiences.
Yeah.
And I was like 18 at the time. Yeah. And I'd been working on my act, and this is where it comes in, the campness. I'd looking for a character, and I used to watch Michael Crawford all the while. Oh, yeah. I used to love him, you know, and some of us do have him. So I took a bit of him, like, got a treble. And I thought, my other favourite was Are You Being Served? John Inman.
Oh, John Inman, Mr. Humphreys.
Yeah, I loved him. You know, "I'm free."
Yeah.
But of course not, monkeys used to us for. "Oh, Mrs. Slocum." And I thought, put them together, get that in between, get the boy next door a bit feminine, you know. And
And you've got an act.
of course, it was Duncan Edit1 was born then, and I used to come on, you know, in fancy clothes and puffy shirts, and I was just different. And I thought I needed an opening, and to this day it's the same one, Teddy Bear's Picnic. I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful to come on if you go down in the woods today, you're in for a big surprise. And I used to ask a fella in the front row, "Come on, skip, if you go down in the woods," and he'd skip along the stage with me. And that was the whole idea. So I did that, and I thought, that gets me noticed.
Yeah.
If they're not reading the paper, they put it down and think, "Who's this guy?" You know, but
quite daring as well, you know.
For the time.
Yeah, it's alternative comedy, really, isn't it?
Yeah, for the time.
Yeah.
It was daring.
Yeah.
Very.
Because they're not going to take kindly, are they?
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
I mean, I got onto a lot of TV was offered me then. Lionel Blair come to see me. He gave me my first TV, which was Saturday Royal. He come to see me in a working men's club in Coventry. And he asked me if I'd appear on one of the shows. And I said, "Yes, I'd love to, Lionel."
Massive break.
What's it called? It's called Saturday Royal. It's from Nottingham, which was about 5 miles from where I was living. And I said, yes. And by the time I'd done 6 weeks up in the northeast, I'd got a good
grounding
few bits
as well.
together, good grounding.
Yeah.
I went on telly, and the rest was history, really. I mean, Chase Me, my catchphrase at the time, came about when I was in a club in Newcastle, and I drunk somebody's beer, and it was a gag that I did.
That could be fatal, though. Drinking somebody's beer, couldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what?
Yeah. What I did was I said to her, I was doing Michael Crawford because I wouldn't have got away with it as myself. So I said, "I've got a question for you." And he looked up at me and said, "What's that, bonny lad?" I said, "Do you know the house you live in?" is it lined with all this new foam in the ceiling and the walls to keep the heat in? He said, what are you on about? I said, is it lined with this new foam in the ceiling and the wall to keep the heat in? He said, no. I said, well, you could be losing this much every week. Picked his drink up and drunk it straight down. And he looked, and I looked at him and I thought, we ain't happy.
Yeah.
And I just said, go on, chase me. And I ran off. And everybody was killing themselves laughing. And I thought, that's funny, that.
Yeah.
Asking him to chase you. And I thought, I'll keep that in.
So it's an ad lib that became like your catchphrase.
Became my catchphrase.
Just literally out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Incredible, really. So when you, but yeah, I love the way you just sort of mentioned it, you skip over like TV, but when you got, and you've got this, it's hard to imagine it, but you know, Saturday Royals, big break, big show. Were you nervous, Duncan? Or
Yeah.
I was going to say, because it's lovely, because at this point, you know, you've honed an act out of nothing, if you like, you know, and this guy's taking you on, and I'm imagining he's thinking, ooh, you know, like rubbing his hands, because you're young and you're impressionable. So when you got there, can you remember who was on the show with you and stuff like that?
They were artists that had done the clubs mainly.
Oh, right.
Nobody of any fame
Apart from Lionel.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Only Lionel. And it was almost like a variety show. And I did the first one, and so I thought, for the first one, I better do something out my act that I've been doing for 3 years to be safe with it, you know.
Yeah.
And so I went on and I did the first 5 minutes. I come on with Teddy Bear's Picnic, and I went down in an audience with a rose, single rose, and I gave it to this lady in the front row, and I says, "Oh, sorry, love, it weren't meant for you." And I take it off her, and I go and give it to this fella instead. I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't see you." And
did it ever go wrong, that? Because I just love the way you did. So nobody ever took offence when you were doing it live?
No.
I guess when you become famous, people know what to expect. I think it's frightening when you're not famous, because they think, well, what?
The early days were hard.
Yeah.
But the television opened it all up to me, especially on Saturday Royal. The first show was such a success that ITV, they were flooded with phone calls. Who's this guy? So funny. Get him on next week. And I got the phone call from Lionel, bless him, and he said, "Do you think you could do that again?" I said, "What do you mean, Lionel? A different spot every week for the next 5 weeks?" I said, "Oh, now you're asking." And I thought, that's 5 new openings I've got to
But
find.
aren't we honest? You know, like when you're young, you know, mostly like at your age now, you just go, you know,
you'd accept it. You'd take
when you're
it.
young, you're like, oh, I don't know. You know, I cooked my dad's tea on a Wednesday. You know, that sort of thing. You know?
Yeah, could you paint London Bridge this afternoon? Yeah, we've got TV cameras. Oh yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You'd go and do it. But I did. I said, yeah, I'll do it. And not thinking, you know, I've got to be 5 times. I've got to be funny. And then I worked on 5 different openings to the act. One of them was hilarious. I got one. It was set to the floral dance. You remember the old
Brighouse and Rastrick Brass Band.
Yeah,
they're still living on that.
And I turned it around, and I'd got giant haystacks.
Oh yeah.
To sit in the corner.
I mean, he was huge again. Wasn't he?
He was massive, man.
Yeah.
And I used to come on, and the opening was. Hang on.
Oh, it's all right. We're asking you to remember a long time, don't we?
I used to go skipping on, and I used to go, "I know a lumberjack, and his name is Stan," and I pointed to him, and he was sat there. I said, "He's big and strong, and he's my kind of man. His hair is grey, and his eyes are blue." He said he fancied me. I said, "I fancy you." He showed me his chopper. I said, "Oh, that's nice." I said, "I've seen one before, but only once or twice." I says, "Can I hold it?" He says, "Of course you can, but I can't pick it up. I'm not a very strong man." So it laid there in his hand, and he picks up this great big chopper. It's huge, because Giant Haystacks was huge. Yeah. And I went across to him, and I said, "Go on, chase me," and ran off. And that was my second opening I did.
Good and a very memorable opening, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Because the song would be big at the time as well. Everybody knew it. Yeah.
It was the floral dance.
Terry Wogan did it.
Terry Wogan, bless him.
He kind of had a hit on the back of the Big
Yeah.
House thing, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And then I did, the following week, I did the Changey Guards at Buckingham Palace. And I had two great big guardsmen with the skins on, you know. And I was in the middle, and one was there and one was there. And I was walking in step with them. These were proper dancers. And I said, and I come on going, the Changey Guards at Buckingham Palace, trum, 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 trum. And we all got our arms with it. Christopher Robin went down with Alice, trum, trum. And I went, do you think the Queen knows all about me? And the two guardsmen went, sure to dear, but it's time for tea, and skipped off. And I went, which one was Alice? And the place was in an uproar.
You see,
again.
what's interesting, the way you're describing, you know, you started in comedy now, it's not just you being funny, but it's like building an act, you know what I mean? And an act and a character. Now, it's very different, isn't it? Because you kind of go on there alone. You know, when you look at the old comedians, like, you know, the Albert Modleys and the Ken Platts and stuff, they all had good catchphrases like you.
Yeah.
And the minute they said it, you're relaxed because you know what's coming.
Yeah.
But now you don't know.
No.
When you watch, you know what I mean about comedy now, you think, I don't know what you're on about.
No.
Because you're not comfortable. I think that's where you've been very clever, because you created a character that I remember you coming on, I think it was on 3-2-1, which again,
3-2-1,
massive
Ted
TV
Rogers,
show.
Yeah.
You know, to get a booking on
In
that
its
would
day
be.
was great.
Oh, when you watch it now, that Dusty Bin.
It was terrible.
What was that about?
Oh, dear.
The bin would fire on, wouldn't it? What's that about?
I mean,
you know?
now you've got to be careful what you put in a bin.
Yeah.
I mean, that poor woman with that cat, you remember that?
Oh,
one?
yeah.
Got fined £100. Put it in the wrong bin, didn't she? Wrong coloured bin.
But what was Ted Rogers like? I mean, again,
he
another huge
was
comedian.
Lovely.
Yeah.
He was lovely.
And did you realise when you were on these shows how big they were for you? Because you're young, you know what I
They
mean?
were popular shows. I mean, they were great shows. The viewing figures were huge.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know, it's hard to imagine that now.
3-2-1 was probably getting 4 or 5 million people. Yeah. I mean, you get that nowadays and you're doing
it's a mega hit, isn't it?
There's that much out there to choose from, to choose what you want to watch, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Neil.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
there's millions watching us now,
I hope
so don't
so,
worry.
yeah.
Don't worry about that. Let me ask you about another big sort of milestone in your career. I think for any comedian to appear on the London Palladium, what was that? You know, when you get that call out, Duncan, they say, oh, it's at the Palladium, you must have kind of skipped a beat and thought, you know, because it's the holy grail for a comic, isn't it, to walk on there? Yeah. And then you have to worry about, am I going to be funny?
Yeah, the manager rung me, it's Bob Deptledge, and he said, I think I've got you on the London Palladium. And then straight away I thought, can I have a new suit? And he said, because I told Des O'Connor years ago about my suit. I'd come on in a safari suit. Can you remember I used to wear the safari suits?
Yeah.
And Des O'Connor said to me when I come on his show, he said, I like your suit. I said, oh, thanks, Des. I said, I'm not keen on them myself. He said, you're not keen on them? I said, no. So I've got 74. And Des O'Connor fell straight into it. He says, well, 74? He said, why'd you buy them then, if you're not keen on them? I said, I just like being measured. And he didn't know where it was coming from. He laughed along. And he's
lovely, Des, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
I think he's a very good foil for any comic.
Yeah.
Because he allows you to be funny.
Gives you time.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people got discovered on him because
Yes, he did,
he would set you up and then you could be.
Yeah, I mean, I did Des about 3-4 times. I did Des O'Connor. And I did Terry Wogan when Terry Wogan had his chat show, bless him. And that was a long while.
Was that at Shepherd's Bush Empire?
Yes.
Yeah. So, sorry, go back. Take me back to the Palladium. So you get this booking.
So
you
I
get a new
booking.
suit, I presume.
get a new safari suit from Cecil G's. And he said...
Foster's and Cecil G's. You're taking us right back, you know. Because Cecil G again...
Oh, I'd gone up market then.
I was going to say, Cecil G at that point, I mean, to be able to afford clothes in there.
Yeah.
Because you remember, when you were poor, the barriers went across if you went in. You're like, you're too poor, you know.
They were pure silk. And they were about £700, all those...
Which is like thousands now, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it would equivalent to buying a Boss suit today. Yeah. But you just
bought a house for $700.
You just don't get a full length jacket with a safari suit, and they were quite dear.
Yeah.
And up until those, my mum had been making me safari suits out of.
You can always rely on your mum,
yeah,
can't you?
bless her.
Yeah.
Out of white crimpling. Oh, it was awful once.
Yeah.
One night I was doing a club in Newcastle and I was outside the back door trying to get in and it started to rain. And by the time I went on, my trousers were up here because they'd shrunk with the
'Cause
water.
it did, didn't it? Yeah, it shrank.
Yeah, it shrank if
Yeah.
it got wet.
Because crimpling, and for those younger viewers, it was very fashionable though, wasn't it? As a
Yeah.
fabric, you know, now. I mean, you wouldn't be seen dead in it now.
No, God, no. No.
So you get to the Palladium.
Yeah.
Talk to me about when you're there on the day, because we know you're mega successful and it was a huge hit for you. But walking down, as we all have done, that stage door is a tummy-turning moment, isn't
When
it?
you, I mean, it never really hit me
Yeah.
till I walked out on the stage and looked at
Really?
the room, and then I suddenly dawned on me, you know,
Yeah.
you're standing where, you know, Dickie Henderson's from it stood, Tommy Cooper stood here,
All the comics.
you know, and I'm thinking, Ken Dodd loved it here,
Yeah.
you know, and I can see, you know, you can feel it, you get a feel for it, and it's just the greats that would have been there, Sammy Davis and well, everybody from America, Sinatra,
everybody.
yeah.
I remember standing there and looking out, and it was all empty, and it was like that at the night. And but the thing is, you look at it and you think, I can't quite believe, you know, like you're worried about what you've got to do now, because you think, can I host it? Can I do this? You know what I mean?
And I mean, the thing was, I mean, I couldn't ring anybody to tell them, you know.
No mobiles, was there then?
No, there were no mobiles
Yeah.
then. And I'd be like thinking, oh, if only I could ring somebody. But then they wouldn't believe me.
Yeah.
A little lad from a village, you know, they think, oh, Duncan's been on the phone, he's at the London Palladium.
Yeah.
You know, whereas you could, if you had a mobile, you could have took a picture and sent it, you know.
Isn't that nice now about being in the digital age, that you can, because, you know, do you remember in the old days, you had to rely on somebody to video it for you as well. You had to ring a friend who'd got a video player. Could you, 7:45, you know, like, we were watching Corrie, you know what I mean?
I remember doing a show with Jim Davison years ago, and they never had any mobiles or anything like that. And he come backstage and he said to me, Duncan, can I borrow 10 pence to phone my wife? I says, here's 40, ring them all.
So cool, funny.
Yeah, but I mean...
It's true though,
It
you know,
is
it's
true.
true. We have to, so listen, I've got to get through to, so you also, which many people will know, but a lot of people won't know, that you were the original host of, which became a mega show, Blind Date.
Yeah.
How did that come around? Because I would, you know, I know you did it, but I thought, what a brilliant idea at that time for you to do
Oh,
that.
it would have been
You know,
huge.
yeah.
And, you know, and
I mean, I love Scylla, but I think you could have done a version with a bloke. Because now Paul O'Grady's doing it. But Paul O'Grady sort of does it, to me, a little bit too straight, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think with Paul, I mean, I love him.
Very funny man.
He's another one who's not only TV, variety act. I mean, he's brilliant in panto. He's a good actor as well.
And a good author. Have you read his books? They laugh at you, don't they, the books? You know, when you read them, I've been there, you know, when he's talking about clubs in Huddersfield. You think,
life. He's talking about life.
Yeah.
And I was asked to go and see this new show that Thames Television had acquired from America. It was called It's a Hoot in America.
Oh, yeah.
And they brought it over. And my name had popped up on the radar, and who's this Duncan Norvell? And they'd seen me on Des O'Connor's show, and then on the Blankety Blanks I'd done, and
which were funny, weren't they?
With Les. Oh, he was one of my best friends, Les.
I love Les Dawson.
Yeah.
But wasn't it a cheap show, Blankety Blank, when you look back now?
Well, he said it, didn't he, Les? He couldn't give a damn.
Did you understand it, though? I never understood it.
He didn't want the price. They wanted the checkbook and pen.
Yeah, oh yeah. But you know what I mean? When they asked you the question, I never understood it.
Got a clue.
What, and the blank, you think, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I never understood the game, if I'm honest.
I mean, half the words I couldn't spell, you know. I'm a bit dyslexic, and I didn't give you time to draw it.
No.
So he used to really have a go at me.
Yeah, because you'd come on and you think, I don't really know what he means. And the blank, you think, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So you sit there thinking, oh, you know, I'm a bit of an idiot. That's why I could never do countdown or anything, you know, because you're
No.
a bit too thick.
Yeah.
I don't know what a consonant is. I thought you had tablets for it. You know what I mean?
used to watch that countdown. I used to love it.
Yeah, only with Richard though, and Des was good.
Richard and what was her name?
Carol Vorderman.
Oh yeah,
Loved Carol.
Phew, she was lovely. I mean, I was about 17 when she first come on, and I put that on. I got aroused.
Oh no!
It's not bad. 7 letters.
You're naughty. So listen. So right, okay. So we get Blind Date, and you made the pilot.
Yeah.
Right? So have a drink of water. It's all right. So you got it, and then you. But when you first saw it, did you think, oh, this is going to? Could you tell? You know what I mean, Duncan? When you get that sort of thing, and you think you're not sure sometimes when you watch a pilot. You think, oh, is this a hit or is it? Because what works in America doesn't always translate, does it? I mean, things just don't work for people.
Well, what happened was, I went down and looked at the show that they'd made, and I said, well, I think you know as well. I said, are we changing the format? And they said, yes, we'd like to change it. I said, well, for it to work here, I think you might have to.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we're glad you said that, Duncan. We've got people with ideas. I said, great, and I left it to them, really.
Yeah.
And I was introduced to the producer, a woman called Jill Striblin, right?
Oh, right.
A lovely lady. And I stayed down in London for about 2 months, going through the show in a rehearsal room.
Yeah.
And we were doing it with just a couple of people of film crews and running through it before we brought the audience in. And I had the idea of bringing the screen in so that the gentleman couldn't see the ladies.
Which was the fun bit, wasn't it?
Versa,
Yeah, I love that.
And I worked on all of this, and where the breaks came in, and then the holiday clips would be shown. But I mean, in the early days, we sent them away to Skegness for a weekend.
Enough to turn anybody off, really.
Or Yarmouth. I mean,
I love Skegness and Yarmouth, but you go on a show because you want to get somewhere decent, don't you?
Yeah, but I mean, it was only when Scylla took it over and the money poured in, because it was being, it was for ITV, they were getting a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because they were getting 12 million viewers.
Yeah.
They could afford to send them to Barbados, luxury holidays. But before, for the pilot, they didn't want to spend a lot.
Yeah.
It was like...
But actually, that's funnier in a way, isn't it? Can you imagine if you've gone on the TV show...
To make a good show,
2 nights in Yarmouth.
Yeah, 2 nights in Yarmouth.
And if you get a particular hotel, you know what I mean? It's like, I'd rather stay in the studio.
Yeah, sea view from one of those things.
If you climb on top of the wardrobe and look out the skyline.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So, but then when you made the pilot, and obviously they liked it.
Yeah.
So where did it go wrong then? How did you end up sort of...
We made the pilot, and I went out, and they told me, be as camp as you want, be yourself. Just be funny, Duncan.
Yeah.
As long as you're clean, obviously.
Yeah, because it's prime time.
Yeah, prime time TV. So I went on, and I didn't know who were going to come out. The guys were coming on. I didn't know nothing about them.
Which must have been great for you as a comic, though, because you're having to, really think on your feet.
Thinking,
what can I make funny of this?
Yeah. And I've got a studio audience of about 500. So to me, it was like doing my show. But in the middle somewhere, we're doing a bit of a routine with 3 guys and 3 women, and I thought, this appeals to me. I went out and did my own warm-up, which was hilarious.
Which, I love the fact that comics do that.
I got the audience on my side.
Yeah.
So when I went out, it says, welcome to Blind Date, and here's your host, Duncan Norvell. And I come on in a pink jacket, white trousers, pink jacket, a lovely shirt and tie. And I come on and I said, hello, welcome to Blind Date. I says, where we try to match couples up. I said, boy with a girl and girl with a boy. I said, but who knows what could happen?
Which was racy then.
Yeah.
To say that then.
Yeah.
Now nobody'd bother,
No, they wouldn't bother now.
Yeah.
That's why it'd be ideal.
Yeah.
And I'd say, right, let's see what we've got. And our first gentleman is from London, come on, Matthew. And Matthew would come on. I said, hello, Matthew. I said, you're from London, which part? And he'd say, and I'd say, okay, Matthew. I said, if I may say, a very good-looking man. And, well, what do you do, Matthew? He says,
You must have been really nervous.
and he says, I'm a doctor. I said, oh. I said, great job, I suppose. Well-paid job, good-looking man. And you live in Windsor? I said, you come on, you can't get a girlfriend. I said, you've come on to see me, ain't you? And he said, no. Honestly, I want a girlfriend. I said, oh, okay. Whatever. And I said, well, you take a chair over there and we'll meet our second gentleman. And then he'd come on and another guy'd come on.
And did you know them? Had you met them, Duncan, before?
No, not met them.
So did you deliberately not want to meet them so
No.
you could bounce off
I just
them?
wanted to know what they did for a living,
Yeah.
so I've got a gag.
So
know.
you can, so you've got, that's a very clever thing to do.
Yeah, it's
as a
the
comic,
shock
you know.
value,
Yeah.
the shock of them coming and sitting this close to
Yeah.
me. You know, it's like you and I. We haven't
Yeah.
rehearsed anything, as probably people can see. But
Speak for yourself, love.
you know, I just like, you know,
Yeah.
meet them for the first time, make your own opinion.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought the girls would, that were picking one or the other, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, I brought the girl on, she come on, and she picked this guy who was the first one that came on. And I said, you're going to love this guy when he comes. I said, I think you picked the right one. I said, if you weren't going to have him, I said, I'm upset now, really. And anyway, he come from behind the screen, and she went, and I said, yeah, I know. And he were such a good-looking lad. He were a bit like Elvis.
Yeah.
And they went away, and I said, right, let's see where you're going. And I think they went to Yarmouth for a weekend. I says, come back and tell us what it's like. And we had to take the cameras and film it. Well, it was freezing, blowing a gale, and they had to go on a sea fishing trip off the coast of Yarmouth.
I mean, it's not exactly what you want, is it? You know?
Well, when we did the interview, when they come back and I was talking to them, I said, how did you get on? Well, they could tell with their faces.
They didn't like each other.
So they liked each other, but it was just a awful day.
Yeah.
It was freezing.
Well, if they could survive that, then they could get on really, couldn't
Yeah,
they?
they
You know
could,
what I mean?
yeah. That's what I
Yeah.
kind of thought to myself.
Yeah.
And anyway, they didn't. And they weren't going to. They ended up seeing each other, but nothing. As Sidra would say, bless her, you know, no need to buy a hat. Then. And I did the show, and we thought, Joe Stribney and myself, really thought I'd get it.
Yeah.
Because the whole studio audience were in tears, crying, laughing. I mean, I got it wrong a lot of times.
But that's more fun.
Yeah, it was.
You know,
more
the
fun.
audience love that.
Because
don't
every
they?
time I come back on and I had to say a certain line, I was getting a laugh again.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit like Bradley Walsh when he did The Chase.
Yeah.
You know, he gets a line wrong and he has
Yeah.
to do it again. He gets the laughter, the fits.
Yeah.
Because he's got to do it again, but you know what's going to come again, you know.
But I think that's why a comedian works doing these shows, because you know what happens now. I think that, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this. The problem with TV now is they've got presenters, not entertainers.
Yeah.
And an entertainer knows if you spot somebody in the audience who
Yeah.
is on the phone or looks like they're asleep, you're going to go to them.
So, yeah.
And that camera follows
Yeah.
you, and then you play your business. You know.
Yeah.
And the audience love that. That's the key.
Yeah.
But now they'd cut that out and they'd say, just say that. Just what's
Yeah,
on the
just
auto
say
cue.
that again,
Do the
yeah.
auto cue.
Yeah.
Duncan, you know what I mean? And that's hard. Listen, we're going to touch over because we're going to run out of time here. But the water rats. You tell me about what your involvement with, because that's a very noble cause.
Yeah,
you
it
know.
was, I don't know now, it's probably 6 months ago. I was asked if I'd like to join the Grand Order of Water Rats, hence the emblem.
Which, I mean, is, you know, when you're, again,
badge,
a comedian,
badge,
you know, a performer, it's a big thing, isn't it? You know, I mean...
And I said, I'd love to. I could have actually joined 5 years ago. They sent me a form, and it come through my letterbox, and it fell on the floor, on the mat. And because I'm a little bit dyslexic, I went down to have a look at it, and I thought it said water rates. so I binned it.
Like you do.
Yeah. So I could have been in 5 years ago. I thought water rates, I'm getting rid of that.
Yeah.
And luckily they asked me to join, and I did this time. And they're a great organisation, very charitable.
You've got some lovely pictures I've seen your lovely partners put online.
Linda, yeah.
They're lovely, aren't they? Because I mean,
Yeah.
you look really happy in those pictures as
Yeah.
well that you've joined.
Yeah.
You can see, can't you? when
We
people
have what we call a lodge every
Yeah.
month, and we all get together and we talk about the coins. We call them coins, not pounds. It's called coins.
Yeah.
And how much we've raised at a Water Acts function that they give to so many different charities, you know, and they have been doing for many years.
Oh, they've done some sterling work. And
Yeah.
when you look at the people who've gone before you,
Oh, gosh.
it's frightening, isn't it, when you look?
People
you
like
think,
Lauren and Hardy.
Yeah, and
you
you
go
think,
back
ooh.
that far.
Yeah,
And the Max Millers. And,
yeah,
you know, we had Sir Bruce. And we've got some royalty in there now.
yeah.
We've got other people waiting to join the Water Rats, but you cannot join until you're asked, you know, until somebody dies, and then there's an extra space left, you know. I don't know who I followed.
It's terrible though, isn't it, when you think that. You have to wait for somebody to drop off.
Yeah, well, it's certain golf clubs we do, you know.
Yeah.
It's,
I remember that years ago, you know, Duncan, when I was working in a hotel for a short period, and I said to this guy, and this is a true story, I said, how'd you get to become the head waiter? And he said, oh, well, you know, you have to wait really for either somebody to retire or die. And I said, well, how long has he been here? And he said, 35 years. And I'm thinking,
yeah.
I'll be 80
Not
by the
long
time
now. Not long
terrible,
now.
isn't it, when you look back? Listen, we've got to finally ask you as well. I've got to finally touch on the fact that you're still upcoming, thriving, whatever, and you know, you're hoping probably to get the best newcomer when you go here. But you're going to be at this gorgeous venue in Blackpool, the Viva, in March, because this will probably go out just around that time. When is it? When can they come and see you? Because I know lots of people want to come and see you. So.
It's in March.
Yeah, we'll put the date up on the
I'm not sure of the exact date. If they go on the internet, it's definitely Viva Blackpool.
Yeah, Viva Blackpool.
And it's
Church,
in March.
Think, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm on
we'll stick it up for you.
I'm on with friends of mine, Pay Police.
All right. Yeah.
You know, Billy Don't Be a Hero, Night Chicago died.
Yeah. I had their cassette.
Did
For
you?
younger viewers, it's a tape.
Yeah. And
People don't know when you
and
say
that should be great, actually.
Yeah.
Nice to go back to Blackpool.
Do you still love performing? Is it still what you know, is that what gets you up?
Well, I never thought I'd get back on stage when I had the stroke. I had the stroke 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've managed to work myself to fitness.
I think you've done an amazing job.
To get on stage, and they've made me an ambassador to the Stroke Association. And the year before last, with the help of Royal Mail, I did a big advertising campaign. It was called Make Me Purple.
Yeah.
And we raised over 3 million in that year. And I just, you know, I think it's a great thing, great cause, because you hear about cancer, but people seem to forget about strokes.
Yeah.
And the thing with a stroke, it takes away your body and everything, and you're disabled for a while, a long while, sometimes forever. But I've managed to
I think it's your
walking.
resilience. And I also think, and dare I say this, you know, I'm probably shot down for this, but I think because you're a comic and your brain is very, you know, it's always been active. Because when you're live on a theatre, packed theatre that you've done on TV and everything, you're standing there alone. There is no hiding place.
No.
And so your brain has to go, help me. You know, what am I going to do here? Because they're all looking at you waiting, make me laugh, you know. And I think comedians do bounce back because we have this drive, dare I say. I'm not a comedian, but like you. But I mean, you know, there's a drive there that you think, I can still do this. And you know, I think comics don't retire, we just die off.
Yeah.
You know? Because when you look at all the greats, you know, there's very few that have actually disappeared and said, I'm not doing it anymore. And I think, you know, I watch you, and as I say, you're an inspiration to many people. I think you're a very, very funny man, Duncan Nova. You've made me laugh for years. And it's an absolute thrill to me.
I mean, even when I had the stroke, I mean, the doctor came around the next day and he wanted to give me an injection in my stomach.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, okay. So he did. And it's to stop blood clots, you know, and stop DVTs.
Oh, yeah.
And he gave me an injection in my stomach, and I had one every night. And this new doctor came on, this Indian doctor,
Oh, no.
and he said, Mr. Norville. I said, yeah. He says, you've got a DVT. I said, I haven't, I've got a BMW. And he went, a BMW, good, good, good. And then he gave me an injection, you know. And I thought, oh, right. And I thought, no, I can't stop doing it. And I've got to get out this bed and
That's what I mean.
and
And it has
back
to
on
be in you, doesn't it?
stage, yeah.
I think what's lovely about you is I can see, you know, like from when you came in today, you're always impeccably smart and beautifully dressed. And you're still, I mean, very, very funny. You've got a very sharp brain. And I still, you know, today you still make me laugh. I mean, you're going to be laughing about this for the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah.
I have to say, Duncan, we're going to have to wrap it up. But thank you
Okay.
so much today for being my
It's
guest.
been a pleasure meeting you.
It really has,
Yeah.
Duncan. I can't believe it, honestly, love. Thank you
You've
so
been
much.
wonderful as well.
I'll come and see you soon.
I'll come and see you at Viva.
Take care.
Okay.
Thank you.